بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Today we look at another set of attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-mu'izz and al-mudhill. And so again, a person may ask, there was at one point, no creation to elevate and no creation to lower. And al-mu'izz is to give honor, to raise up and to give honor. And al-mudhill is to belittle and to humiliate. Now, be mindful that not everyone who rises in the world is mu'izz, fulfills the attribute of izzah. Okay. There is al-raf' wal-khafd as well. There's raising and lowering. Raising and lowering is independent of a judgment about the person. Whereas the word al-mu'izz, the al-izzah wal-dhul, is a judgment of the person. So al-izzah indicates that this person is honorable. Not only are they elevated, but they're elevated with honor and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing that you have in this world matters if Allah is not pleased with us. Okay. Even one of the scholars said, if Allah put you in paradise, but announced you that he's not pleased with you, how could you enjoy yourself? Right? Adh-dhul, because the inside is really what matters. People are actually happy by the inside, not really the outside. Right? It's like 85% on the inside. And then the outside merely can stimulate and allow that happiness to grow. But al-mu'izz is that one who honors somebody. And honoring in our deen is very different from other people's perspective. Honoring for us is a tafaqquh fi din. First thing, man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihu fi din. The one whom Allah Ta'ala wants to be, it wants good for them, he gives them fiqh, of understanding of the deen. Fiqh here meaning general understanding of the deen. All right. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, aminu. Oh, you who believe, believe. What does this ayah mean? If you're a believer, why would you be told to believe a second time? Answer is that all of us, every Muslim, knows the basic beliefs that there's God, Prophet, Holy Book, Day of Judgment. We all know that. But not everybody has the daqa'iq of ilm. Not everyone could go and elaborate on the problem of evil. Not everybody could go and elaborate on other matters of faith and law, such as inheritance, quandaries of inheritance. And they used to bring quandaries of inheritance to Sayyidina Ali since he was so good at math. Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib was famously good at math, and they used to bring him quandaries of inheritance. And the Orientalists love to bring these up, all right? They love to bring up, they say that the Quran's inheritance calculations are wrong, all right? Because the Quran gives certain calculations and certain fractions that where they should go. For example, a single parent, or a parent with no child, 1/3. If they do have a child, 1/6. A husband, 1/2. If the deceased mother has a child, then his share goes down to 1/4, and so on and so forth. A single daughter, 2/3, or a half, sorry. Multiple daughters, 2/3. Different calculations like this. So the Orientalists come up and they say, hold on a second. There is a possibility where the fractions could actually, the numerator is greater than the denominator. So there's no one to take the remainder, first of all. And the fractions that exist end up being more than one. And it's true. How do you answer that? Many people have like a crisis. Oh my gosh, Quran was wrong. No, the Quran gave you fundamentals. Quran gave you basics, right? And then it's up to the scholars to fill in the exceptions, right? So the Quran never said that every single question of inheritance law is in Surah An-Nisa, right? Never said that. It simply said this is how you do inheritance, okay? Meaning this is the basis, fundamentals of inheritance, okay? How about, for example, when you forget in the prayer? There's a lot of questions that never came up in Quran or Hadith, right? Even Sayyidina Umar talked about the riba of bartering. For example, let me give you a sack of red raisins for a sack of yellow raisins. Well, that's haram, right? You can't barter the same item because you can't really know the value of them. So you have to go sell one, okay, and then sell my red raisins for money, and then buy yellow raisins, okay? That's more fair. But Sayyidina Umar himself said, I wish that the Prophet had lived longer to be able to, that more questions about this riba of bartering would have come up. So what is Sayyidina Umar telling us here? He's telling us here that what we have is the basics and we have to figure out the rest. Same thing. Say no, Ali bin Abi Talib, when he was posed with that question about the inheritance, the numerator being greater than the denominator, he said the answer is very easy. Render the numerator to become the new denominator. That's it. And then everyone gets the fraction based upon that new denominator. That's it. And he handled it very easily. And there are many other such questions. But the Orientalists will come and tell you, pose to you a question that's not even a problem. All right. It's not even an issue because the Quran never claimed that every single detail, okay, is here. Rather, that general commandments are here. And then ask the scholars if you don't know. This is one of the meanings of that. And the actual فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ, just for your information. This is another thing that people make mistakes on. The verse of Quran, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask those of the people of the dhikr if you do not know. That question that is revealed to the pagans, okay, to the Meccans, regarding Ahlul Kitab. So if you're not sure if this prophet is true, right, go ask them. Go ask them what they know about the prophecies of the last messenger. What is he going to look like? What is he going to be like, etc. Okay, but that doesn't mean that that verse cannot be applied anywhere else, right? Because we take our evidence is by the words of the verse, not the reason it was revealed. Okay, the reason is what was revealed is not the only way which we use a verse. We can use a verse in many different ways. So when we say fiqh, وَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, he gives them a deep understanding of the deen. Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab was seen in a dream having a long thobe, right? In another dream, drinking milk and honey. And one of the reasons, one of the ways in which the Prophet ﷺ interpreted these dreams is knowledge and deen, right? Knowledge, on one hand, that's the milk and the honey, and deen, right? Meaning that he's scrupulous. He doesn't have just a bare bone basic fundamentals of religion, and we shouldn't aim for that. Like there are many people, they go out, they live with just a bare bone basics. I know not to drink, not to eat pork, and that's it, right? And pray 5 times a day. That just because that exists doesn't mean it's acceptable, right? Would you want somebody to have just a bare bone basics of math? So all his knowledge in math is arithmetic. You give him geometry, he's never heard of it. You give him algebra, he says, the life is supposed to be easy, right? Like some people say, the deen is easy, ad-deenu yusr, right? So don't give us these types of questions, right? Okay, so you don't want your kid to have any geometry, any algebra, any calculus, yet you want him to go live a happy life, right? You want him to go and be able to have some skill that earns him something, right? How about reading? Oh, he reads fine. He could read, at a basic 5th grade level. That's fine. But to read an actual book or textbook, no, right? Would you want that? So why don't we have a low standard in deen, but a high standard for secular subjects? Because we see the result of the secular subjects right in front of us. We see poor people walking, and we see people who are successful walking, and people who have degrees and all these fancy things that drive in nice cars. We in the deen, we look at it the opposite. It's not by wealth, it's not by degrees, it's by fiqh of deen. So al-mu'izz, when Allah gives izzah to somebody, it is not by their wealth or poverty. It's not by the accolades that other human beings have placed upon them. It's not by using fancy words. It's by understanding the deen. Okay. It's by understanding the deen. And this is true izzah. So al-mu'izz, when we look at the word al-mu'izz, this is one of the meanings of it. Another meaning is victory, right? Victory. Now, as a group, this is a very important ruling. Allah Ta'ala always describes, when he talks about ibad and lana, he talks about the generality of Muslims, specifically their armies. He said that it is impossible that they be upright in the religion and lose battles. So that the measuring stick of the uprightness of the ummah is in its political and military battles. If they lose them, then they were not upright. Okay, that they did not fulfill the criterion to be called by Allah ibad and lana. And he's also given us that those who do win those battles, we can look at them as examples. Now, this is not the case for individuals. You could say that Hussein was a martyr. He lost. He himself was killed. So we're not talking about individuals. We're talking about the general population of the ummah. When it wins politically, It's a sign that they are on the right track. Okay. So this is from the other meanings of al-izzah, right? Al-izzah is to be honored by not being subjugated to the enemy. Now, if you look, now we talked about both the izzah of the individual being that he is not subjugated to ignorance, and the izzah of the ummah, which is not being subjugated to the non-believers. Okay, so that's the meaning of al-mu'izz. This is very different from the saying of Allah, of the Prophet ﷺ, يَرْفَعُ أَقْوَامًا وَيَضَعُ أَقْوَامًا, that Allah raises people and lowers people. That the raising of people and lowering of people is merely about material wealth and power. And that he distributes to everybody. So he could raise someone who doesn't deserve to be raised, but Allah is just. And in this world, every people, every group will eventually get their chance and get their share of things. All right, of this material world, this dunya, everyone will get the chance. And if you look at the history books, you do see that everyone got their chance. You see that the great powers of the world, everyone eventually, every nation can boast that they at one point had a great nation, right, and had a civilization that was above all other civilizations. So the fact that Allah raises people, that's the material raising. A Muslim shouldn't concern himself with that. But the izzah that we believe in and hold is the izzah of not being subjugated to knowledge, to ignorance, not being subjugated by a non-believer. Okay. Izzah, and now adhul. What is adhul? Adhul is the opposite of these two. It's being in darkness of ignorance and controlled by your ego. All right. When Allah wishes to humiliate somebody, does he make him poor? No. Does he make him ugly? No. If Allah wills to bring humiliation upon someone, he causes that person to commit sins. All right, that's it. This is the humiliation in our religion, is to commit sins. And they say that to commit a sin is gathered up by the angels, and it's as if you're sending up to the heavens a clothes with feces on it. All right, or a letter that smells of urine, najasa. Right, so it's like the najasa of action. So dhul for us, humiliation for us, it's not being poor. It's not losing individual political battles, right? It's not being unpopular. It's not dhul for us. It's not having no influence. That's not dhul for us. Dhul for us is one simple thing. You commit acts of disobedience to Allah. That's a sign that Allah Ta'ala has humiliated that person because of something. And sometimes sins are a result of other sins. You disrespected an elder, then Allah Ta'ala will humble you and humiliate you with some sins that you committed. You were arrogant towards people. You turned your back on the truth. There was an issue and you turned your back on the truth for the sake of your reputation, for example, or for your wealth or whatever. You may be now humbled and humiliated by falling for your own temptations. So this is the meaning of dhul in our deen. And dhul as well, collectively as an ummah, is that we're not in control of our own affairs. And that's the case we're in right now. Okay, that we're not in control of our own affairs. And it's almost become like a crime to even listen to what they've done. They've made it like a crime for Muslims to utter the fact that we're not in control of our own affairs. Even these, and it's gotten so bad that if you ask some Muslim nations, they might not want the Sharia even. It's the brainwashing has become so thorough. All right. So anyway, that's the dhul. And now al-khafd, wal-wada, is to lower something and to lower somebody. And that, again, happens to everybody. The good and the bad. Good people may have poverty. Good people may have bad circumstances, may have weakness. So nobody should consider simply not having a great amount of wealth or strength to be humiliation from Allah. So this is the difference between al-izzat wa dhul, honor and dishonor, and elevation and lowering. All right. Sometimes lowering is not because of sins, it's a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right. All right. Let's see, before we get to the commentaries, let's look. We have a great question, and Sammy has an announcement. Okay. Sammy will make an announcement about dhikr, by the way. So maybe we could turn to that now, and then we'll take a couple questions before we go for Salat al-Maghrib. Okay. So let's turn on. Let's switch off now to Sami Kadovic, and Bismillah. Turn his camera on, and then we will switch to Sami Kadovic, and he's got to have a nice announcement that's going to make a lot of people happy. Oh, I never admitted him to the meeting room. My bad. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you hear me?
There he is. Bismillah. Here he is.
Assalamu alaikum. How's
Salam
everything?
rahmatullah.
Alhamdulillah.
He's there. He's on site.
I am. Alhamdulillah. Just a couple of quick announcements. First, did you announce about tomorrow's dhikr night?
No, I'll leave that to you.
Okay, so tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to try something new for the summertime. We're going to do, inshallah ta'ala, our dhikr night in Community Park in North Brunswick. So please come there at 7:30. We will finish by Salatul Maghrib there. Obviously, bring your masks, and we're going to socially distance, etc. But you can come there, inshallah ta'ala, to gather there in open air and participate in dhikr night. So we invite everybody to try that out, and we'll see how that goes. Secondly, as you know, the masjid has been open for the daily prayers. Alhamdulillah, and we appreciate everyone who's been following all of the instructions and doing exactly what they are supposed to be doing in coming to the prayers, washing their hands, coming with wudu, making sure that they bring their own prayer rugs and not touching anything, etc. And wearing a mask. So alhamdulillah, that's been going well. We want to make sure that we keep that going forward as well. But tomorrow, inshallah, we're not having Salatul Jummah. We're not ready for Salatul Jummah yet, and so we're not holding Salatul Jummah at the mosque. So please join us online, 12:30 for the recitation of Surah Al-Kahf, and for the Jummah reflections by Sheikh Shadi at 12:30. There is no Jummah or Zuhr tomorrow at MBIC. Thirdly, we do have the summer camp registration up. So if you're interested, children 7 to 12, Quran, Islamic studies, and some activities. This will be running from Mondays to Thursdays, starting June 29th, inshallah. So you can look online for that and the registration for that as well. And finally, and I can't remember finally, so I think maybe that's enough. Alhamdulillah. So inshallah, we look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow. If you do come tomorrow, now we haven't seen our brothers and sisters in a long time. That's great opportunity to see them physically. Please, though, respect everybody's distance, respect everybody's, that you maintain your distance, etc. We would all love to hug each other, I'm sure, and catch up. But we're still not in the clear when it comes to this stuff. So we want to be still cautious as well. Respect people's also positions they're in. Some of us are in very difficult situations. Maybe they have immunocompromised individuals at home. Maybe they themselves are immunocompromised. We weren't even aware. We don't know people's situations. So make sure you respect everybody's position and distance, inshallah ta'ala, as we can pull through this. All right. I think that's all for tonight.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. All right. So that's your announcement. So dhikr at the park. Tomorrow, social distance, there will be a little mic, and we're going to do it, inshallah, there. If it's wet, if it turns out, let's say it rains overnight, or if it rains in the daytime, then we'll make that announcement. And it'll be obvious, common sense. If you look out at your own grass in front of you and it's wet, then you'll know that we're not going to do it there. But we will be able to announce it on the various WhatsApp groups and on the pages, so you will be kept in touch. If it rains out, then dhikr will be after Maghrib, online after Maghrib. Otherwise, 7:30 at the park. All right, let's take a couple questions here. The first question is about Fadak. Fadak is a situation that happened regarding a garden that the Prophet ﷺ left, and it's not the right place to go over that, because it does consist of a dispute of the Sahaba, specifically the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr Siddiq, or you could say a misunderstanding. And it's actually forbidden to speak about the disagreements of the companions unless it is in a specifically educational platform in classes. And these sessions are more general and not exactly like classes per se. So inshallah, we can cover that another time in a more formal class setting. Next question is, can you provide some advice for converts looking for spouses? Now, one of the best websites for this, in terms that they actually care to observe some matters of deen, and it's not like wishy-washy and all, is a website called Half Hour Deen. Okay, so you can use this website. It used to be nobody wanted to touch a website for marriage, and it was something that it was looked at as a bad thing. But I think nowadays it's just like there are a lot of people and there are not many places to meet. So it is a decent website and I think it has a good reputation. That's one thing. Now, what shouldn't you do? This is the most important thing. What you shouldn't do is rush into things. You shouldn't, if you're a sister. Now, if you're a sister that was previously married, you don't need a wali to get married, like a male guardian, because you're already been married and you're experienced. However, it is important to have one for psychological reasons, not necessarily for you, but for the person in front of you. For the person in front of you to know that there are other men in your life that will protect your rights, that are looking out for you. So if you go to somebody and that person has a weak wali or no wali or an absentee wali, it's easy pickings for some guys, right? Because once he gets like there's some emotional bond, then he starts feeling like there's nobody who's going to make sure that I have to do my job. And we're not like other people where, you know, it's 50-50. No, it's not like this. The man in Islam, a husband in Islam, he's got a job to do. He has to fulfill certain needs, right? And it's not the obligation of a sister. So he can't just say, okay, let's split everything 50-50 and we're equals. No, he has to fulfill certain obligations. Now, how is that going to be enforced, right? How are we going to make sure that he's fulfilling his duty? That's the role of the wali. Okay. Now, the wali is not there to make a decision for the sister, but he's there to make sure that the other person, the groom to be or whatever, is vetted, okay, investigated, who this person, especially the people marrying people that they don't know anymore, right? It's not like not all marriages are community-based marriages where we know this person for 15, 20 years and we know everything about him and his family history. No, people are marrying people out of state who they don't know each other. Would you hire a nanny to come and live with you, right, without vetting them properly? I mean, it's harder to get a job at Walgreens than it is to get married in some people's worlds. They just get married so quickly. No, you need to have vetting processes. And the wali is there to do that, that he has no interests. He's not in love, right? He has that role to play. The wali is vetting, investigating, and also making sure that that certain things are communicated. You need to understand that this is going to be your job. You have to do such and such, okay, and such and such. And he also gives advice to the person that he represents, right? The guardian that he represents. And a wali must be of the same religion of the person. So let's say there's a Muslim woman, her dad's Jewish. Her dad cannot be the wali. Now, that doesn't mean the dad's not involved. The dad should be respected. The groom to be should come and respect the parents if they have if the convert individual and their parents are on good terms and they're like still getting along and everything. He can't just disrespect him because he's not a Muslim. So a lot of these things to me are some of the things that I've seen people skip out. They just go to a website or they meet a person and they do it themselves. Would you fix gas in your house by yourself? It's one of those things. I went to a guy at Home Depot. I said, I have a problem with the gas in my house. I need to fix it. I need this nozzle. And he said, okay, what kind? What, this type or that type? I said, I really don't know, to be honest. He said, in that case, I'm not helping you because you clearly have never fixed gas before and you don't know what you're doing. If I help you, you're going to go and light your house on fire, right? So, and I'm going to be responsible. So he refused to help me, right? And I thought at the time, I thought he was crazy, but it makes a lot of sense now, right? So you wouldn't go and fix gas on your own, do it yourself, read from a manual or from a website. Then you blow up your own house. Likewise, to bring someone like so intimately into your life requires careful, patient thought and vetting. Just because something is rare, and it is rare, some people spend years trying to find somebody, does not justify the first possible candidate, I'm going to jump on it. It also can be the first possible disaster, right? So these are things that I think that are very, very important, is that people around you that you trust should help you look at the person, not make the decision, but look at the person, right? You might actually be in love. You might be biased. You might be rushing, both men's side and the woman's side. And therefore you need someone with a more clearer head to just give you a second set of eyeballs. Okay. Have you ever bought a car on your own, a used car, and you realize I just got scammed? If you had a second pair of eyeballs with you, maybe somebody would have told you you're getting scammed here, right? So that's the number one thing is avoid rushing and avoid DIY. Do it yourself. Don't do it yourself. Get a second set of eyeballs, a third set, someone with a clear head, do background checks. Solo fish, like that type of individual person. He has, do you have friends? Oh, I don't really have any friends. Okay. Do you have a local masjid? I don't really have a local masjid. Do you have parents? No, I don't have any family. Well, what do you have then? Right? Skeletons in the closet. That's what he has. Okay. That's why he won't tell you who his friends are. Now, a person doesn't have any friends. How does a Muslim not have a local masjid, no friends, no nothing? That's going to be a very rare case, right? But if you're in the community practicing Islam, you're gonna have a masjid. You're gonna know people. You're gonna have a family. It's got to be something, right? It's gonna be very rare that you have a perfect dude, and he's got no friends, no masjid, no family. Okay, very rare. Okay, what he's gonna have most likely though is skeletons in the closet. That's what he's running. He's on the run from something. Okay. And by the way, there might be some guys out there. Okay, you're the exception. I already said there may be a sliver, a 0.01%. So if you're one of those guys, no friends, no family, no local masjid, nobody knows you, but you're a great, honest guy and a good Muslim and a perfect husband to be, then you're that 0.01%. Okay. So I hope that answered the question for Alicia and Dion Johnson, who were interested in that type of question. Right. Can wali be women or must be a man? Must be a man. Must be a man, but doesn't necessitate that women cannot help fulfill the function of the wali. So technically, wali in Sharia is the man who speaks to the other man on behalf of the woman. Okay. Speaks that other man and is able to, have certain discussions that a woman would not, the woman would, for example, if you're a woman and a man is proposing to you, if you're getting along and you're happy, you might not ask for a high dowry, right? It'd be awkward to ask for a high dowry or to ask for even a reasonable dowry. But the man could very easily, like having an attorney, right? Having an attorney in a negotiation. That's really one of the ways that you could view a wali. So sometimes you're embarrassed to ask certain things. You send the wali to do that, to do your bidding for you. Okay. Other women can help you with scouting the person, checking them out, seeing if there's anything shady, anything fishy. They could help you, but they're not going to be the wali. The wali will be a man, a Muslim man. All right, let's look at AA has a question that says, how can a nation feel honored when they are on top, when most have achieved it through dhulm? Does the zalim know he is being a zalim, and does the one who is being a victim know he's a victim? Well, here's the thing. Many people might not like this, but it's true. Oppression is guilt from oppression does not transfer to the next person. However, the consequences of oppression may. Right? This is a very important thing and something that we have in the Sharia, from the divine wisdom, is that oppression does not transmit, but consequences do. And that's what we're witnessing here in America regarding slavery. This debt that is unpaid and can never be paid, or not a debt because a debt can be valid and legitimate and moral, but a oppression that was done, that it was done by certain generations of people. Okay. First of all, not all the people, not every single American in the past was a slave owner, but many people did have slavery, right? Then it was abolished and there were no slave owners at the time. However, that does not necessitate that the consequences in what we would call bad karma, right? The Hindu term, bad karma, but it's the same idea, which is the evil of the act, the evil consequences of that act is still hanging in the air. It's still hanging in the air. The next generation now, they never had a slave. I never took a slave, right? That's what they're going to tell us. Yes, you are not guilty. You did not take a slave. You're not guilty. But the consequences of your forefathers' actions, okay, is still hanging in the air. And it hung in the air for a long time, and now it comes crashing down. okay, has come crashing down. So when people say, "Oh, you're guilting us just because I'm white, it doesn't mean I did anything wrong." No, you didn't do anything wrong. Your great grandfathers did something wrong, and you're paying the price. So you blame them and hate on them, okay? Because they sowed the seed of oppression, of dhulm, of wrong actions, and they didn't have to pay the debt. You have to pay the debt, okay? It's like you punch a bully, right? You poke a lion, then you walk away. The lion turns around and sees your buddies, and he eats your buddy. Your buddy didn't do anything wrong. He's not guilty, but this is shared consequence. Okay? It's a shared consequence. And that's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Taqu fitnatan la tusibanna alladhina zalamu minkum khassa." Beware of certain fitna. The payback, the response of that fitna does not only affect the people who did it. And that's exactly what's going on, what we're witnessing today. Okay? The sin was done by certain people, and they got away with it, and they benefited free labor, right? For hundreds of years. Acres of land of free labor, hours, lives, okay, were taken and blood spilled and souls destroyed, okay, for free labor. They got it and they enjoyed it. But who's paying the consequences? Now the lineage. And not really the lineage, everyone. Everyone is suffering from this. This is exactly what the Quran says. Fear the wrong action that does not solely affect the wrongdoer. Okay? Fear that wrong action that is not limited to the wrongdoer. And we're all suffering from that. Okay? Not everyone equally, obviously, right? But the whole crisis of race is all a result of certain people's actions in the past. Now it's coming down upon everyone, and people are still guilty of it, by the way, in gradation. Maybe not slavery, but racism itself, actions of racism, words of racism, feelings of racism. That still remains for sure, right? There's no doubt about it. It still remains, and it has to be erased. And America can be an example. America's always had a type of this revolutionary and leadership quality to it. It could use it for the good. It could use it for the bad. It's corrupted the world, but it's also brought a lot of good to the world too. And if we can get over this and be an example, because it's happening, there's marches now happening all over the world, take into account racist cultures, right? And trying to tear them down, right? But my thing is, racism is in the heart. And I don't see in the secular movements of the world a language that addresses the heart. Islam can address the heart. And that's what Sherman Jackson said in a paper the other day. He said that racism is not something that can be addressed with laws. It's got to be addressed with a teaching. It's got to be a religious teaching that connects two people who look very different, who may have suspicions about each other, and connects them through the same creator. And also eventually what Islam does is that it actually brings far cultures. It doesn't erase cultures, but it brings them closer together through similar ritual worships. So you bring a community from far away, from Uzbekistan, for example, and another one from Mexico, and they're both Muslim. They worlds apart, okay? But you bring them next to each other, and they have the same salah, same psalm, same aqidah, same ways in which they get married and bury each other, and they live in this pretty much same way, but have different cultures. The culture just becomes a superficial crust, right? That you can mix it and match it, and it's just superficial. The core is in common. And that's why Islam does not erase these cultures, but it renders them to be superficial coverings only. Like the jacket is just a covering. Your culture is just a covering, right? That you enjoy and you guys like it, that's fine. But the core of what's in common is aqidah and deen, right? That's what Islam has done. It's not come to erase cultures or to create a new culture, but it's meant to show us what culture is. Cultures and skins and languages, all that, that's just the ghilaf. It's just the cover. The core is one and the same, right? And that is that we are servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is why I see these marches and respect and recognize what they're calling against, but I don't necessarily see that there's that is the foundation is as strong as the foundation of Islam for the solution. Yeah, you can teach people, convince them, but what if someone doesn't want to be convinced? A Muslim can't not want to be convinced. No, a Muslim who's a pious Muslim who's going to respect the Quran and the Sunnah cannot continue to uphold racist beliefs, superiority based upon ethnicity or skin or tongue or nationality or whatever. He cannot, right? He would have to be just completely ignoring our texts, right? So, whereas I don't see this any secular framework that can address people in that same way. What if someone says, "Oh, in secular language, no religions, completely secular. I want to be racist. What are you going to do? Only might makes right by boycotting me, humiliating me. That's it. Might makes right, and that's it. That's not a way to change people's hearts. You're not going to change people's hearts like that, right? So, that's a little my view and the view of many people. And I recommend people read the works of Sherman Jackson on racism. He's very eloquent on the topic. Hisham Habib, he says, do you have any recommendations for a book that helps one understand the differences between the four madhabs? Yeah, there's a book that's called The Mercy. I think it's called like Mercy and the Differences of Opinion. And there's another work called The Four Madhabs. And better yet, get the big book called The Four Imams. I recommend everyone have this book on their shelf. It's called The Four Imams. It's a big book this big that covers the biography and the methodology and what makes unique each imam from the other. Okay, it's a big book called The Four Imams, and I recommend everyone get that book for that. Hamza Khalid, is a student loan permissible or haram? Well, technically, as a contract, it is an interest-based contract, but I cannot. I have to tell you that certain scholars, because of the circumstance of not being able to get educated otherwise and the necessity for community education, certain scholars have had other commentaries on it that would render certain students be able to take loans, but that's the realm of fatwa, right? So you would have to get a mufti to tell you, to talk to you, to explain, their position on that. Okay, based on the circumstance. All right. Let's give it one more round real quick if there are any comments or questions. Otherwise, we'll wrap up and go for Salatul Maghrib as it's getting dark out. And then see you tomorrow again at 12:30 for Surah Al-Kahf and the Jummah reflections, and then hopefully again in the evening. All right, looks like we're good to go. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. تحصنت بذي العزة واعتصمت برب الملكوت وتوكلت على الحي الذي لا يموت. اللهم اصرف عنا الوباء بلطفك يا لطيف إنك على كل شيء قدير. تحصنت بذي العزة واعتصمت برب الملكوت وتوكلت على الحي الذي لا يموت. اللهم اصرف عنا الوباء بلطفك يا لطيف إنك على كل شيء قدير. تحصنت بذي العزة واعتصمت برب الملكوت وتوكلت على الحي الذي لا يموت. اللهم اصرف عنا الوباء بلطفك يا لطيف إنك على كل شيء قدير. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.